Hello, everyone. It's Steve with Aptera Owners Club. There is some news that Sono Sion is coming to the U.S. and it's actually here in the U.S. and they're doing a tour. And they've been to New York and Boston, and they're going to Detroit, San Francisco, and Los Angeles next. I actually looked at the Los Angeles dates, and I was thinking if it was on a weekend, I was going to go check it out because I am very interested in the car. You guys might remember that about a year ago, on September 30th, 2021, we made a video on this channel comparing the Sono Scion with the Aptera, and I thought it was a really neat car back then. So if you want to get kind of the full rundown on the car, specs and things haven't changed that much in the past year. You can go check out that video. This video, I'm just going to give a quick update about things and what's going on with them. So brief overview, this is a 5-passenger solar electric car that's being made in Germany. Well, it's actually the company's based in Germany. It's being made in Finland, and we'll get to that. It has a range of about 200 miles, and it runs on a lithium iron phosphate battery, and it has bidirectional charging. So those are the things that are the kind of standout features of the vehicle. It's very similar to the Aptera in that it is a solar-powered vehicle, and the price is quite good at about 30,000 euros, which is equivalent to about 30,000 US dollars at this point. So a relatively inexpensive car. It's about the same price as a Bolt EUV, which is one of the cheaper electric cars on the market, but has several things that the Bolt EUV does not have, which are very interesting. So if you look at this vehicle, you'll see that it has all these solar panels that are built into the body panels. And unlike the Lightyear, which only has it on the roof, and same as the Aptera, it has on the roof, they put solar panels on the sides and the back. Okay, so it's sides and the back, which has its positives and negatives. Positives are, you get a little bit extra solar because of you putting it on the sides. And I noticed several people were mentioning like, why doesn't Aptera put solar panels on the sides? Well, it's mainly because it's a very inefficient place to put solar. Because at any given time, about a third of these solar panels are going to get zero solar production because if the sun is like high, none of the side panels will get hardly any solar exposure. If the sun is to the side, then like let's say we're the sun and we're looking at this car, this back panel and this side will get zero solar. So you're guaranteeing that at least a third of the panels will never see the sun at any given time. So it does have the advantage of if you're in during like morning and evening when the sun is lower to the horizon, and also if you happen to be at a higher latitude, and Germany is a fairly high latitude, so maybe that's what they're thinking. Side panels do give you some additional solar exposure, but you have to kind of think about the negatives of and the costs of having all these extra solar panels that are not in a very efficient location versus the marginal electric gain you get from them. They've decided that it is worth it. Lightyear and Aptera have decided it is not worth it. I'm kind of in the camp of it's not worth it because the other thing about solar panels is that you have to put the car outside, and whenever you put a car outside and don't have it garaged, it's gonna degrade. The paint and the exterior and everything's gonna degrade because UV radiation is pretty harsh on any material. So if you were gonna do that, you want to maximize what you're getting out of the solar panels, and putting them on the side just doesn't maximize it. Um, I guess in one way, it does give you a little bit more extra. So if you're going to expose the entire car, you might get a few extra, kilowatt hours out of it. But overall, I don't know that it's the best use of solar panels, but they've decided that it is, and that's a design decision that they've made. Um, Otherwise, it's a pretty standard car build. It's metal, unibody frame, and then body panels. The interesting thing I found out about their solar panels, which is interesting and different from the Aptera, is that they're using injection molding. I don't know exactly how it works, um, and I don't know how they like float the panel in the middle of the injection molding. Maybe it's like a two-step or multi-step process, but they're using injection molding to make their panels, which theoretically seems much faster than the encapsulation technique that is usually used and is the process that Aptera seems to be using. Um, and they are marketing their panels as IP for retrofitting buses and vans and things like that. So that's something that's a market that they're looking into. And you can see like you see a truck that has their solar panels potentially installed. Aptera is also going to license their IP. It seems like they're very protective of their solar IP, which I think is good. And the difference is that their solar panels are very flat. And so I think maybe this injection molding technique works if your panels are very, very flat, but it would not work very well if you're trying to bend it around a curved surface. And so as you can tell, their panels are quite flat and there's not much of a bend in their panels because their car is boxy. I will say that I don't mind the look of the car, but it's not the most aesthetic car. It looks very boxy, and I think they did that to maximize interior volume. If you look at the specs of the car, it is a little bit longer than the Aptera, quite a bit, about 6 inches narrower than the Aptera, including the mirrors. And but the height is quite tall, 65 inches versus 57 inches. And if you look at the other comparison cars like Tesla Model S and Model 3, about 57 inches as well. So almost 10 inches taller. So it's quite of a boxy car. But what you get out of that is the trunk space is really good. If you put down the rear seats and make it a two-passenger vehicle, you get 44 cubic feet, which is way more than the Aptera at 25 cubic feet and has almost as much trunk space as the Aptera with all 5 seats being usable at 25. So the shape of it allows you to have a lot of interior volume. But I think that the biggest difference of this car is it has bidirectional charging. So they have this thing called a Sono box, which lets you do vehicle to house. It will discharge at up to 11 kilowatts. It charges at 75 kilowatts, and it has a built-in plug um, for vehicle to load that'll output almost 4 kilowatts. 3.7 kilowatts. So it is basically a giant battery on wheels that has significant power output. So you could level 2 charge any electric vehicle with it, and you can run a house with it for a while. And the battery system is lithium iron phosphate, which I really like. There's many advantages to lithium iron phosphate, and I think many of us are hoping that eventually Aptera will move to lithium iron phosphate because lithium iron phosphate has a large number of cycles, so it's very long lived. You can fully discharge and fully discharge it without hurting it very much. It's a much safer battery chemistry, and it doesn't have cobalt and other hard to get minerals. So lithium iron phosphate is also more environmentally friendly to produce. So has many advantages. The only major disadvantage of it is it is heavy for the amount of power that it can hold. So its gravimetric energy density is significantly lower than NMC, which is what Aptera are using. But especially for the lower range, 250 and probably even the 400 mile range Aptera, a lithium iron phosphate battery would be preferable, in my opinion. The other kind of cutesy feature of this thing is this moss that filters the air. I think this is a little gimmicky, but I like it. It looks cool and it's kind of a neat feature, and it does serve a purpose. They could have probably gotten away with it, but I think it's kind of it's like a badge that they have that it's one of their cars. I really like the look of it. I think it's fun. It's a fun feature, not a necessary feature, and probably not a very super practical feature, but fun and does something. Lastly, they have decided since I last talked to them that they're going to use Valmet Automotive as their manufacturing partner. So this is a contract manufacturer They make cars, so they don't design cars, they don't engineer cars. Well, I think they do a little engineering. They help engineering, but mainly so a company will come to them with the specs, how they want it built, and they have the assembly line, and they will build the car. And they've built several cars. They're currently building the Mercedes A class and the GLC class cars. They've built all these cars in the past, so they have a long history. What's interesting is that Lightyear has also contracted with Valmet. So Valmet will be both building the Lightyear One and the Sono Sion. So they're building two of the three major solar electric vehicles in the world. Um, and I think this is an interesting concept. I think it's a wise move for these small startup companies to contract with a well-established contract manufacturing firm. This is the same thing that Fisker Automotive is doing, except Fisker has gone with Magna Steyr, and Magna Steyr is another contract manufacturer. They are going to be making the Fisker Ocean. And I think the Fisker Pear, they've decided to go with Foxconn at the Lordstown plant to make the Fisker Pear. But the Fisker Ocean is going to be made by Magna Steyr, and Sono has gone with Valmet. And Valmet is a Finnish company. They're based in Finland. So the last thing I want to talk about is I really like the way that Sono has been keeping their fans and their investors updated very frequently about the state of development. So they have this thing, and if you go down to the bottom, they have a entire roadmap and what's been frozen. So they've basically frozen the design of their entire car, looks like, and they're in development. And if you go here, they give you a bi-weekly uh, uh, update on where they are. And so this is the most recent update. And a lot of this is like a technical mumbo jumbo to me. So I didn't really get into it that closely because I'm not super interested on exactly where they are. But they go by body systems like body closures, exterior, structure, infotainment, and they give you like bi-weekly updates on what each part is doing. Um, I don't think this is a tremendous amount of work for someone to do. I mean, this is probably a hours worth of work for a person every 2 weeks. And I think this amount of transparency is wonderful to see in a startup company and gives a lot of confidence to the investors and the fans. It's something I wish that Aptera would do. Um, and so looking at their development, we're about here, Q3, near Q4 in 2022, and it looks like they're doing a lot of pre-production trials and ordering the production parts and things like that. And they're hoping to start production in Q4 of 2023 to Q1 of 2024. I get the impression that they're a little bit um, ahead of Aptera in where they are in production and design. And so this is and they're projecting late 2023 for start of production. That may be where Aptera is. I know that Aptera has pushed back. We kind of got the impression that we were going to have start of production in late 2022. That's becoming increasingly clear that that's not happening. They're hoping to deliver Delta by the end of 2022 and start production early 2023. I suspect that this is, again, very optimistic. And I think, again, as I've always said, as an entrepreneur, you have to be optimistic, and they have to believe that they're going to hit these things. And I think that if everything goes perfectly, they are going to hit this thing. But how many things in life go perfectly with no glitches? Very few. So I think they're going to push out to later 2023 is my guess. Um, and that's where Sono Sion is. It'll be very interesting to see if Sono Sion makes it to market first, or if Aptera makes it to market first. Like first customer delivery, is it going to be the Sono Sion or Aptera? Give me your thoughts in the comments below on that. Um, I really wish them well. It is a different use case scenario. The vehicle is a different use case scenario than the Aptera. This is more of a local city vehicle. Is a lot more practical for that function. It's narrower. It navigates streets better. It holds 5 people. Has a lot of cargo capacity. So for local driving, this is a much better vehicle than the Aptera, I think. Um, but in terms of pure efficiency, Aptera is still almost 3 times more efficient, has incredible range. So if you want to go on a longer trip, road trips, and drive the most efficient car, and mostly you're driving alone, the Aptera is going to be a better vehicle for that. And the Aptera has a much higher top speed. This one has a top speed of only about 85 miles per hour, which is fine. That's a fully highway capable car. But the range of 200 miles is pretty good, but it's not the car you want to take on long trips, especially when you consider the efficiency. You're going 200 miles on a 54 kilowatt hour battery, a 54 kilowatt hour lithium iron phosphate battery on an Aptera would give you 500 to almost 600 mile range. Um, so that's the difference in efficiency. For me, I care a lot about efficiency. The Aptera is going to be a better car for me, but this is a very interesting vehicle. So I wish them a lot of success, and I think there is certainly a good use case scenario for this vehicle. It has great bidirectional charging, solar charging, um, and it is about the same price as a Bolt. So if my choice was between a Bolt EUV or this car, I'm definitely getting this car. It's just offers you a lot more. Okay, well, tell me what you guys think about the Sono Motors. Oh, if any of you guys can make it to see this Sono Sion, if you're in Detroit, San Francisco, or Los Angeles, and you have the time to go check it out, if you want to film some video or pictures and let me know, I'd love to get your thoughts on what you thought of it once you got to see it or sit in it or get a test drive in it. I'm not able to go because I have a day job that I have to work during the week. Um, but if you go there, let me know, contact me. You can find my email address in the About page of this channel, and I'd love to get your thoughts on it. All right. Well, thanks for watching, everyone. Thanks as always to our supporting members. Appreciate the support that you guys give, and have a great day, everyone.